Hello. So today we'll be rebuilding fully this power steering box from a 2004 Jeep Wrangler. This model right here is discontinued and considered to be non-serviceable by the manufacturer or by the dealership. So basically you can buy these online. You can buy these online refurbished for a super expensive amount of money. But I'd say probably about 1 out of every 4 or 5 reviews for the reserviced ones or the refurbished ones. There's complaints about them being sloppy, giving you loose driving. So basically when this right here is turned, there's play in it, right? There's slop in it. This only feels like it's a little sloppy because there's no power steering fluid in here, so it's just very easy to move the gears without power steering fluid. All right, so I'm going to show you a few things I did to this before I took it apart or before we take this apart. The first thing I did, which you could probably wait until you put this back together. But basically what I did was, you'll see 3 marks on here, all the way left, all the way right, and the middle mark. And basically what I did was I turned this all the way to one side, right? And you'll see in a second here, let's keep this going. So that is now all the way to the left. Then, right, I'm gonna go like this. You'll see 1 spin, 2 spins, 3 spins. All right, so we have 3, and I think it was like 3, almost and a half spins. I wrote down the measurement, but if I go the other way, it's like almost 1 3/4 to get to the middle, right? So I just marked all the way to my left, all the way to my right, and then the middle. So what would happen is, once I rotate this to the middle, my pitman arm is going to line up with the punches I put here. So that way it's in the exact same spot as it was when I took it off, and it'll line up when I go to put it back on the steering column and connect it. All right, so we're going to take this fully apart today. There's a piston in here. This is going to be the input shaft, which is the worm gear. This right here, this pitman arm, this is the output shaft. And this can be adjusted. So when people say it's loose, right, there's an adjustment nut back here and a bolt. Let me turn this around for you. And what this does, I also marked this. So this whole shaft, there's a shaft that goes all the way through to here. Obviously, this is the shaft. Once I take the pitman arm, you'll be able to see it. It goes all the way through, and it actually is part of this. It's actually part of this little, not this bolt, but the Allen key nut that you see coming out is part of the whole shaft. It's all one piece. So by unscrewing this or screwing this in and adjusting the bolt to tighten it, you're pulling or pushing this into place, which is then going to tighten this. Now I've marked it saying, hey, if the bolt is right here, and I've written this down, I have 2 threads sticking out. So I know exactly where it is now because there's not much play in this. So there's really not much play in this at all. It's nice and tight. I want it back in the same spot. I just want to mark where this bolt is, and I want to mark how many threads I have out of here, so I know the exact placement of it now. Within this box, There's a bunch of bearings. We'll get to that in a second here. I'm going to take this pitman arm off here in a second. We'll just start unbolting this. But they call this a worm gear, this input shaft. And it's basically filled with these little bearings. So as we take it out, you're going to see they're all going to fall out. And once we get the cylinder out, I'll show you how to put those back in. So first thing is first, this is drained. I am going to get an impact gun. And for this particular pitman arm bolt and this box here, this power steering box, this is a 33 millimeter socket. All right. Do. Does not want to do it, boys. Does not want to come off, huh? All right, we're gonna try something else. I was gonna take the pitman arm off first. Problem is, I can't get it off. And the tool I was using, it doesn't have enough claws. Now I have another tool that would actually get it off, but this one just happens to be a little too small. You'll notice here, I would take this tool. Let me just set you up correctly. And I'd stick it in here. Right, it would go in between here, as you can see. And if it were wide enough, they make a wider one, I could get it all the way in, and I would just take this and it would pull it up. Kind of the same, same design as the other one. This just works a little bit better. My thought is of taking the worm gear out, then once the worm gear is out, taking this shaft out, then I could put this on the press and press it right out. So let's try that. Okay. Well, this is fun. They don't bang it in so much. They don't seem to be that tight. Oh yeah. Well, you definitely got to bang it in. Otherwise, you're going to strip it. Alrighty. Although this one, I'm going to be honest here, this one does look a little smaller. Nope. Nope. Ah. Christmas, bro. That one we're gonna change. Yeah. Yeah. That one's even like a little bent. We're gonna keep this aside. This one I don't like. I don't like it at all. Little tap. Okay. I really don't like any of these fucking bolts. Fucker. Ugh. Now watch. Okay, so we cracked it open here. Whew, a lot of oil in there. So I'm going to show you something kind of cool. Now this is the worm gear here, okay? So once you crack it open, the way to get this out, so when you hold it like this, you see it goes in and then it comes out. Okay, but you notice if I hold it in, that's when it spins this piece. So now, if I twist the whole thing, just make sure you guys can see this. Let me get down there here. All right, now if I do this, you're going to start to see the bearings fall out of the worm gear. All right, so I'm gonna go like this. You'll see it. You see it coming out right there. I'm gonna get down a little bit lower here. Okay, just like so. I'm gonna do this. All right, and I'm gonna turn this way. And we're gonna take this worm gear completely out of the piston. You can hear the bearings in there. All right, so we got the worm gear out. You see, right there, here's the this little metal piece. Let me grab this pick right here. So see on here, it's the gasket right there. All right. We're going to put this over here. And then you'll notice inside of here all of those bearings, right? That's where all of the bearings are. Let's just wipe this and clean this area here. Now here's how I'm going to get the bearings out. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna just bring it in there. Right, whoop, woo! That, whoa! Lord, I almost lost it, that was close. I'm gonna put the bearings in here. Careful, don't wanna lose any of these, although I will say I do have extra of these exact bearings. All right, looks like I've got a few more in there. You might be able to see the two I have back in the bottom. Let's see if I can get to them here. I got one. Let's try for the last one here. And I was able to get it. Okay, all right, so now that that is out, right, you'll see this when I turn this, and you'll actually see there'll be a spot that I can actually turn it. Whoops. And take this. So the reason there's a spot that I could turn this is you'll notice those gears inside there mesh with these gears. It's my piston, right? You see the bearings inside there. It's also another set of bearings down there. And then you're gonna see here, once these bolts come out, this opens up and there are some ball bearings inside of this. Kind of that's what closes the loop. Once the bearings are in here, it holds the extra bearings as it spins, and I'll show you that as we go. Whew. All right. This one's pretty easy to figure out. Only one way to really put this in because of this hole where this goes into. Alright. And then you'll see this right here. Alright, so we're here, we're turning this shaft. Now, like I said, this little Allen key bolt, it looks like a bolt, it's not, it's actually part of this output shaft. Right, so now if I take this, if I zoom out here, and I take this cover off, I should be able to unscrew this bolt, unscrew this nut, unscrew this nut, and then this bolt, and then that will pull this whole shaft out. And there's a bunch of bearings and seals inside of here that we will also replace. Snap that bolt right off. Look at that, holy shit. And I can feel it getting looser, so clearly I'm making headway, right? On getting this whole thing out. All right, so when you remove the output shaft, what you have to do, this actually made it a little easier grabbing the arm on the output shaft. So the Allen key, the bolt that sticks out, that is part of the output shaft, as you screw it in, so you're turning it, you're tightening it, righty-tighty. As you do it, you have to jiggle the output shaft. And that's because it's just in there real tight. That gap is very small. So it's a small jiggle. So as you're turning it and tightening it, you're just kind of wiggling that output shaft, and you'll slowly see I'm tightening it, it's getting a little easier to come out, and it comes right out right there. So just make sure you wiggle it back and forth as you tighten that screw. We got this off now. Let's put this over here. Now you'll see where I snapped this bolt. They really overdid it on the Loctite. It's like filled up in here. And then there's another bearing. If you can see inside of there, all the way at the end, there's another bearing where this right here rolls around down there. So we are going to have to, I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to probably weld something to it, heat it up, and then try to pull this bearing out, or this bolt. Bolt welded on. She is now off. We are now golden. We are ready to get started with the actual build, baby. Let's do it! When my friends ask me, do you really need a 20-ton press? Fucking A, right I do. I only got it off, but man, it was on there so much. It popped. It was like a gunshot. Poof! Poof. Oh, man. This has all got to be cleaned up. That's all rusted in there. That's got to be cleaned up. So we're going to set this down. That's all got to be cleaned. You see how gross, nasty that is. All of this around here has to be sanded down. Look at that. Oof. Yes. So we were able to get this out. You'll see the bearing in here, right? You have a bearing in here. You have, these are all seals and gaskets, by the way, which we are going to take apart and replace. You'll see in there, seals and gaskets. Whew. All right, so now that we were able to remove the snapped bolt from the housing, what I did is I went to the hardware store and I bought extra bolts for both sides, right? For the output shaft and obviously for the worm gear or the input shaft. So I just went to Ace Hardware, and you can see there's a little moth in this bag. I went to Ace Hardware and got a bunch of these. They are two different sizes. So basically for the output shaft right here, the 4 bolts that go here, they're a little bit larger. This right here is the bolts that I got, and those bolts are M8 by 1.25 times 30 millimeters, and there are 4 of those. And then there is the worm gear plate, which has these bolts, and you can see they're just a little bit smaller. They're the same thread type. So it's just the length, and these are M8s by 1.25 times 25 millimeters. And like I said again, I got these at a hardware store, but the ends were not the same as the ends here. So I did go to Ace Hardware, and I was able to find the exact same bolts, pretty cheap, not too expensive. So the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove from the piston where the worm gear goes in this little housing. So now, in the interest of not really messing anything up, I'm going to take a screwdriver here, and I'm just going to lightly See if I can get this off. Right. It looks like I'm almost there. I'd say that's pretty close. I could probably turn that, so let me just give this a shot. A little shot of Rooney here. Oh, that's pretty small. Okay. So I really don't want to go too far with this. Let me just see if that works. I think that might work. Let's try it here. Okay. So we're going to take this here. Yeah, I think I got to tap it down a little bit more. Close. That'll do it. It's a 10 millimeter, by the way. You'll see it's loose, and I can just turn this bolt. So now for the other one. And obviously this is kind of a pain in the butt just because, right, this part of the piston turns, and then you're like, oh, it's not too difficult, but if you lean it right there, you should be able to come. That's down far enough, I think. And it is. I'm just gonna unscrew these. Okay. There we go. You'll see this clip just comes right out. And this is pretty thin metal, so it should be easy to grab this and bend it up with a pair of pliers when I put it back on. I'll put my bolts over here. All right. Take this one off. Okay, and then you see this comes off. There we go. Put this and my little cup holder. Okay. And then this comes out, and like I was saying, this is what holds these worm bearings, right? So now just for me, there's a little lip here, a little lip there. I'm just gonna remember that. That lip goes in there, that lip goes in there. It's on camera, so I know that's the little out hole. And the lip for here is facing outwards. All right, so now we only really have one thing left to do. And that is, so in here there's gonna be a bearing. This is the output shaft. Pretty gross. So we have to pull this out. All right. So this piece should come out. We'll just do that. You'll see that comes out and the lip faces this way. Obviously, it's pretty easy to tell which end that came out of. That's pretty disgusting. I'm gonna put this over there. And then let's clean this up. I just want to give you a good look at this because we do have one more little seal in here. Little gasket we got to replace. It's a rubber gasket. Doesn't look like it's in that bad of condition, if I'm being honest. A little dirty. Okay. Sorry, it's been cold and hot and cold in here, so I've got the sniffles. Let me just clean this out here. Now, you'll notice in order to get this rubber gasket out, that actually does not look that bad at all. Man, was this rebuilt recently? Look, I could even see the red seal part on there. Anyway, just saying, just to get this out, there is a snap ring. And you'll see the snap ring there. You might not be able to see it until you clean it. Once you clean it, you can see the little snap ring there. So you take a pair of snap ring pliers. This is always a pain in the ass. Right, it's like you gotta snap ring it. And then you gotta get a friggin' screwdriver in there at the same time. All right. That's like, come on. So I just got that lip up right there. Waiting for this thing to fly in my face. Now the rebuild kit should give you another one of these. All right. Come on. And we got that out pretty easy. I don't even think we bent it. Looks fairly straight. Maybe. I don't know. It looks pretty good. We really did not bend it at all. So when you pull it in here because of these little clips, just get a screwdriver and pop it up, and then you can kind of bring it around and it'll come right out. So then we have the snap ring. Remember, that's going to go underneath this dust cover seal. And then here we have let's try to get this out here. You know, and I've seen people, let's clean it up a little. I've seen a bunch of people get these out really by taking, if they're really bad, they take a screw and they screw it in there and they yank it out, etc., etc. I really, if I'm being honest, don't want to mess this up. It just looks so clean. Like, this rubber is just in such good shape. I'll be honest, just because I don't want to wreck this, I might leave this little gasket in here. I do have an extra brand new one of these. I just don't really think it needs to be taken out. Let me just see if I can easily get it out without well, let's just try a small little plier trick here. All right. Whoops. Whoops. Nope. Okay, so that's in there. That is in there. And I I guess for purposes of cleaning this thing, we could take it out. Look at junk. Okay, so it's a little stretchy ring underneath there. Wow, I did not know about that. I don't know if that's inside of here or what. So what I think I'm doing is, I think it's just in there pretty tight. So as I'm pulling this off, I'm just really fucking the seal up. So now I definitely have to replace it. Yeah, and it comes out. So that's what it is. It's just in there tight. This goes in there. It comes with a new one. All right, so this is out. It's out. It's out. It's done. You see we got that bearing in there, a little oil in there. We're going to end up greasing and cleaning that bearing. Right, so the seal goes like this. That goes in there first. Then the snap ring. Then the cover. Right, and the cover is going to obviously go this way. So I'm just going to put all of this over here, just so I know the order and I don't forget. What we're going to do, basically, now that the whole thing is taken apart, right? We have it all apart. We have the housing, right? We took out the cylinder, the input shaft, which also, or the cylinder, the output shaft, right here. All right, look at that. The worm gear, the other cylinder here. That's the worm gear. Cylinder goes in here. Output shaft goes in there. We have it all here. We've got it all apart, and it's not too bad. It's a couple bolts, some bearings, right? I would say it's just a pain in the ass to get it maybe apart because it's, you know, it was a little old. It was a little rusty. So this is good now, so we can put the new seals and gaskets in there. Obviously, we'll replace this one. Now, before we do any of this here, before I start replacing this and putting it all back together, I'm going to take a break. This is going to be part one, right? We took it all apart. It's here. Cylinder, worm gear, output shaft, front casings. We have all our inside parts. We have our little seals and gaskets. So before we really lube up the bearings and do all this, what we need to do is we need to clean everything.